like a glove.
It's so cool.
Yeah, you approved? You like it?
Yeah.
You want to sing Wheels on the Bus?
Where's that key?
That's his keychain. You like it?
I think there's a duck on there.
Okay, you gotta sit down. You gotta sit down. Okay, ready?
I'm gonna sit down in the middle.
All right, you sit in the middle.
Wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round. Hey, Daddy.
Hey, you better sit down, passenger.
Hey, Daddy.
Hey, hey, the bus has not come to a complete stop. Sit down.
Okay.
Okay, say Wheels on the Bus.
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You crazy mother.
It's that time of the day where I finished up sanding on this thing, and now we move on to job number 2 before job number 3. But I have a bit of a conundrum. We're at a crossroad. I have a decision to make, and the decision is I just finish up the metalwork and ghost on showing you guys how I got done, and then we just magically cut to bada boom, bada bing. Look, it's in there. I'm a hero. Or we take any sort of YouTube career that I may or may not have had. I flush all credibility as doing as any sort of like metal crafting Jesse James wannabe. We'll just flush those dreams down the toilet, and we'll just own up to not doing it right. That's option B. So I mean, of the two, I don't know what you guys would pick, but I'm going for option B. Let's go get that stupid thing, do some crappy work, weld it in there, and then we'll all laugh about it together, because this is an entertainment channel. This is not a how-to. If anything, this is a how not to. And I think that's what we're gonna call this one. How not to fix a bunch of rust that you can fix properly, but you don't have the time. It's a buddy deal. And we're just sticking to the I don't want it to rain inside my truck deal. Considering I already cut a giant gaping hole in the thing, so we gotta put something back over it. So let's go weld some stuff to rust. It's probably not gonna stick together. It's gonna be awesome. Thanks for following along on YouTube. I guess you can unsubscribe now. I'm gonna go work on stuff. All right, so we pulled the short bus around. Let me show you what we got to yesterday. We cut a pretty good sized hole in it, and it's not really patching the hole that's the issue. It's where it flattens out where the drip rail comes up where the roof used to pinch weld in. That metal went away too, and that's kind of the metal you're supposed to stick the new metal, the patch that I was making too. So we just have more pieces to make, and stuff's pretty rusty and pretty bad, but we're just gonna get things hot and hopefully it melt it together is kind of what we're gonna do. So we'll make a patch, make a piece, and then we'll see how we go. And then I got another little part we'll cut out, and hopefully we can get some patches made, maybe tacked in. We'll see how that works out, and we'll just go from there. We'll just go till we run out of daylight, and then it's dinner time, and then it's design work time, and then it's sleep time. Let's do it all over again time. So let's go before I tire myself out already. Okay, so we blasted this thing open yesterday, and ultimately this is the killer piece where we cut it out from here to here. So this was just rotten junk. It's still pretty much rotten junk. We may cut it back a little bit more, and then I have to make, essentially when the piece comes down, I'll have to put a lip on it that kicks out, and then I guess I'm just gonna drag it all the way to the edge of this and try to get a weld back in here is really the only plan, because all of this stuff is pretty much just not good. It's very bad, very poor metal. So that is the plan. So technically, to do this right, I mean, you'd really have to get into this, and it would just be a big cluster F. You'd have to take the window out, and you'd have to cut so much stuff out. Anyway, we're gonna get it done. We'll get him some sheet metal over it, and then it is what it is. Like I said, I don't need credibility, you know. All right, so before we really move along on this, I'm gonna get some cardboard out and kind of show you guys how to make a template. We'll go over the plan that I'm gonna have to get this job pretty much done. With that being said, there are some helpful tips on here that I have been giving that I actually use on all kinds of metal panels when I do things or whatever. In this particular case though, this is just not that job where it's like, here you go, Dane, just make this right. This is, can you just kind of fix this thing and sweep some dirt under the rug. So that's what we're doing. There's no shame in my game. I'll own up to it and we can all laugh about it, and it is what it is. So let's get some poster board, show you guys how to make a template, and go over the plan of what we're gonna do. And I think if we get the welder hot enough, we'll be able to melt and stick something together. That's kind of the plan. So poster board, here we come. Man, it's got car parts everywhere. All right, so we'll get a new piece. We'll get a fresh piece. So I like to go to good old Staples because they're local. And then this is the stuff that I use. I like this instead of like corrugated cardboard or anything like that because the sheets are pretty good size. You can fold it and it doesn't, you know, it holds the line pretty well. It's not terribly thick and then it's not super flimsy. So this is what I use. I get it at Staples. I don't even know. There's the just standard poster board stuff. Okay, so we need this. We need a marker and then scissors. That always helps. All right, let's go. All right, I'm also gonna show you guys my secret weapon. These are neodymium magnets, and I believe I got these at McFadden or like Harbor Freight, one of the two. Anyway, they're super strong, and you can use them to hold your paper, and then you can even use them to hold the metal piece that you make, your little patch panel, hold it flush while you weld it in and burn it in. So as you can see, I stock up on these. Got the little ones here, the bigger ones, and then I like this size. They make ones that are even bigger, but yeah, this is pretty much the size that I run and use. So these are my secret weapon, and yeah, so another tip there. Okay, so this is where we pretty much left off. This already has pinholes in it, so I may bring this up a little bit further. This is already trash here, so we'll bring that up just a little bit more. We'll get rid of that guy, and then this thing's not even touching. This is floating. So I'm gonna cut this back a little bit more so the new piece that I make can be flush. We can get some sort of weld and then a seam sealer, because if I weld to this, there's a gap underneath and then it's still raining. Obviously you can see down inside the vehicle. So we will cut this off, kind of wire wheel this and get it as clean as we possibly kind of can. Then we're gonna make a panel and kind of start fitting that in there. And then we still have this guy to worry about, but this is more like what I was expecting initially out of this, that all this stuff is actually decent and this is just a straightforward patch. And then I got the surprise of crap. So we'll just deal with it. We'll make it happen. Cut this off, wire wheel this a bit to clean it up, cut a little bit of this back, and then we will get on to patch panel making. All right, so we got rid of this guy, and you know the metal's not doing good when it doesn't spark very much when you're going to cut it. Anyway, we cut that off, got it flush, knocked it down, and then we'll try to clean some of this stuff as best we can. Maybe flip that up and get that cut straight, and then take a little bit more of the metal off, and then we'll go from there. This stuff is going to be awesome to try to weld to because it is just not healthy. But we're going to try it, you know? It's not past me to give it the old college try. So much for wanting to be on YouTube. It's over. It's over. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this blue masking tape and we're gonna stick it over the hole that I made. We're gonna mark it off and then peel it back and hopefully use that as our template that we'll throw down on there. So as you can see, I made one on the other side because I thought we could mirror it, but it turns out obviously they're different shapes. So I'll just make a template for this side. So that way, when I make the paper template, the damn thing should fit. So let's try that now. Because plan A didn't work. Back to plan B. Plan B. All right, we have a tape masterpiece. So this is kind of what we're looking at here. And what I'll do is I'll just come along and cut in here. We'll kind of mark where this ridge is. And it's funny because this is a complete different shape from the other side, obviously. But we will mark it out, and at least it should give me some metal to fill the span and kind of fix the hole. So the angle on this, hopefully if I have enough material, I can kind of change it so it's out kind of like that. So right now this is kind of 90. It's kind of a 90. So that is it. Let's cut this one out and see if that looks like a template. Okay, so I took the marker and kind of marked along, you know, to give me a reference. We'll peel this off. We will stick it on some poster board. Again, that's the other side that I tried to mimic and it didn't work. And we'll see how that one goes. Pattern number 2. Okay, so here's our other pattern. It's funny, it gets wiggly because this is where the metal goes away, so it's all high and then it drops down low. Anyway, this is our pattern. I'll just come with scissors, cut this little boomerang shape out, and then we'll try to test fit that and see how we go. If I feel good about that, then we'll continue on and make some metal. Well, we won't make metal, we will make it out of metal. All right, X amount of patterns later. Does anybody else feel like we're on struggle street and I'm struggling with this a little bit? And I really shouldn't be, but anyway, give you a look at it. We'll tighten the pattern up a little bit so I feel better about the fitment, and then we will be really particular when we cut it out of metal. That way, whatever this pattern is, the metal needs to match it exactly. So we'll spend some time on this pattern. That way when we make it out of steel, there's not an up and down, refining it or whatever. But let me show you that the general shape is actually there, which is most of the battle, honestly. So check it out. Okay, so here is, maybe I'll just give it back like that. Maybe we'll just put some Bondo on it and call it good. But yeah, so as you can see, the general shape is there, and then we need to just tighten it up. And like I said, this is where it's thick and then it dips down, so we'll have to cut into this, and I'll just play with this a bit off camera. We'll refine it a bit, and then that is it. We'll make it out of steel, and then we are gonna try to see if we can get this to weld somehow, which is gonna be terrible. But there's also seam sealer, which will save the day. So as long as we can get this in here, it quits raining, life will be good. This patch better be easy, because if it's not, then it's just not. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, here's pretty much my final decision. We're gonna get on to sheet metal. I put a line in here, so this is a little longer than it needs to be, so we may trim that down a little bit, but I'll probably work that on the actual metal panel. The main thing is, from this line to this line, I'm actually gonna extend this about a 1/2 inch, at least a 1/4 inch, and then do a flat flange like you see here. It'll come around and then come out, so that way I can get something to weld to, because otherwise there's a gap there. I'm not gonna be able to weld anything. And then the rest of this will just go straight down into the drip rail. So from here over, we can just burn it in like so. And then this is longer than it needs to be, but we'll cut it and then burn it there, and then we'll make this other piece after the fact. Same thing here. So we'll just cut it in and we'll go from there. So it's kind of the plan. Let's make this out of sheet metal and then struggle some more, shall we? All right, let's see what we have for sheet metal. It's behind all my crap right here. But yeah, this thing's supposed to be more of a pain in the butt than it was. You know, a circle hole in the flat piece is easy, just to cut a square out and weld that up, no big deal. Once you start going around that radius and the pieces get bigger and so on, then it just turns into a can of worms. And that is rust repair in a nutshell. So people always see like, oh, I just have this one thing, you know, can you just fix it? And I always tell everybody, like, until you get into it, I don't know, you know, let's see how far you go. And I knew what I was signing up for. I was hoping it wasn't that bad, but that's life. We'll get it done, not a big deal. But ultimately, if you see some rust on your car and it's kind of bugging you and you think you're just gonna open it up and make a little piece, chances are you're not. You're opening the giant can of worms. It's gonna be one of those ones till you pull the lid off and the thing comes flying out and there's rust everywhere and you're like, what did I get myself into? Well, that's what you have to look forward to. So good luck. Let's find some material. Where are you, sheet metal? That sheet steel. Maybe that is our winner. Okay, let me pull this out. Oh, this is sheet steel. That's really thin though. I think this is a better thickness. Yeah, that'll do it. This should be like a 20 gauge, I believe. So hopefully there's enough material. So we're gonna use this. Let's go throw it over here. Get down on it. All right, I rough cut this out. We'll finish it up on the Beverly shear that I have set up over there. I'll actually put gloves on because I have to handle it on the Beverly shear. So let's go finish this thing up. We kind of have our pattern. I deburred it so I can actually touch it without cutting my finger off for the most part now. But the next challenge we actually have is this little lip that we put in it, because the lip is going to be flat and then that's going to be at a 45 and it has to go around a radius. So in order for that to happen, we'll have to put the brake in it and then essentially stretch the portion that's round right here. Otherwise it won't allow it to bend. So I do have a tipping die that I could use to put this brake in it, but I think we'll just do the caveman way, and if you use like a big set of pliers or whatever, you can just put a brake in it, because again, this isn't like some fancy over-the-top deal, and I think the plier deal will just be fine. So we'll just put a little brake in it with some pliers real quick, and then I will be able to grab the edge of it with the stretcher over there and then kind of give it some radius. So let's caveman this thing, shall we? Alright, so we just made a little lip on that. It may have to go more depending on the angle, but let's set it up there and kind of manhandle it, bend it around, and see if we can get as far as shape goes. And then, like I said, around this radius here, I know I'm gonna have to stretch that to get that thing to wrap, but I'll put it up there, we'll mark it out, and go from there. Alright, so this bad boy here is called the shrinker stretcher. There's these jaws and they come together, and when they meet, see how it breaks apart? So that'll actually stretch the material that's on this edge. I gotta do a curve where I marked it with the marker, and I'm hoping there's enough material and it'll stretch far enough to get the radius that I need, because sometimes when you get it stretched too far, it'll actually split. So we'll just make a radius, play it by ear, and see how we go. It's a pretty sharp curve, and you do a little bit at a time. If you really hammer it, it'll just take and rip the metal. So it's just real small bites. And you can go the other way. You can shrink it if you need to. But I don't really want to go backwards. I just want to go forward. That's it. No backwards. So if you kind of look down at it, see how we have our curve that kind of mimics the top of the truck. So that is it. We'll do a little bit, go test it, do a little bit. So let me turn this thing off, because otherwise I'll waste all my battery just watching me run back and forth. But now that we got a little bit of curve on it, I can already tell it's not quite enough, but I'm gonna check it anyway, because I'd rather sneak up on it than just blow right by it and have to swap the jaws out again, because that's a pain in the butt. The cool ones have both. It has a shrinker and a stretcher, so you can just jump from one to the other. This, I have to change the jaws. So slow and steady wins the race. I'll go double check this thing when we get close. I'll show you guys. All right, so we finally actually made some decent progress on this thing. I'll give you guys a quick look at it, but the sun is going away. I got to clean stuff up, and then tomorrow's a new day once again. But I put a couple Clecos in there so it'll hold itself, instead of me trying to hold it and hold the camera and go, oh look, this is what it could look like. But I think you guys will get the idea. The pattern's still large, or yeah, the patch panel, I guess. The patch panel is still a bit larger than it needs to be, but you just mark it down, sneak up on it, we'll cut it in place, and then Bob's your uncle will be styling, and it won't be raining inside the short bus anymore. So once we get this piece in, the back piece behind it should be friendly. Please be friendly. It seems simple. They all seem simple. Anyway, we'll cut it in. It'll be great. Life's gonna be good. Give you a quick look at it. Check it out. So this is essentially what our patch panel is going to be. And then obviously if you wrestle it, everything will sit a little bit tighter, and we'll be able to clamp it down and weld it and so on and whatever. But yeah, and then we'll just take and trim it up. Like on the back side, you can see if it's nice and tight in there. So we'll just have to trim her down where she goes, get that thing cut in and welded, and then we'll just finish the rest of this. And that will be it. Plus, I figure when all else fails, I got another gallon of Bondo over there. We'll just Picasso this thing back in and pretend like we're heroes and be like, oh yeah, it's fine, dude. And he'll hit a bump, bam, and then this whole little pop off, and then it'll be glorious. If you like this, you need to tell people. Tell your mailman, tell the cable guy, tell, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think of more people to tell, but tell somebody, would you? I'm out.